it here first.
You are now rocking with the hottest business and spirituality podcast show, the Transform You Live Show, hosted by Marcus Hart and Paul Greaves. This is the only place where you can get on your own personal transformation journey, drawn from personal stories, books, and much, much more. For more information, visit transformubroadcast.com. That's transform the letter U, broadcast.com. Only on the Transform You Media Network. Now here's your host.
All right. Hello, my people. Welcome back to another amazing show. This is the Transform You Live Show. We are back. So, first of all and foremost, I want to thank North Bay Freight for all that they do, for providing the wonderful facilities here at Transform You Radio headquarters over on North Prospect. So, if you're in the Milwaukee area, stop on by. I'd like to see you. Visit them at North Bay Freight on Facebook and on IG at North Bay Freight, especially if you want to get behind the wheel. They are hiring for truckers. And if you got something to ship off, rather large or small package, they go East Coast to West Coast, maybe even to Canada. So speaking of Canada, let's turn over to our guest for today. Our Canadian friend, she's been doing some incredible work. She's making headwaves in the industry right now as a holistic health mindset and health coach. I got with us today, Sabrina. Why don't you go ahead and introduce us in your own words, to the complete package of all that you do, all that you offer, and where you come from.
All right. So, hi. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be talking to you about this topic. My name is Sabrina. As you mentioned, I'm a holistic health, mindset, and habit coach. And I work with women who have a history of chronic yo-yo dieting or struggling with their relationship with food. And I help them find peace with food, find confidence in their body, and I help them achieve a healthy and sustainable lifestyle that they can actually stick to, that they can actually enjoy, so that they can finally reach optimal mental and physical health for the long term.
Hey, that's outstanding. I was just talking to you on the other side, just about how you got into that particular work. And, first of all, it is a very compelling story. And I think it's something that everyone can draw from and everybody can resonate with, if they have gone through either a similar situation or is maybe currently going through it right now. So tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So I want to start off by saying that, unfortunately, I think that a lot of us, especially women, struggle with our relationship with food, even if we know it or not. And for me, it started off at a very young age. I was an elite synchronized swimmer. So that is a sport that is really highly focused on the way that your body looks. You make certain teams if you're looking a certain way, if your legs are skinny enough, if you're tall enough, if you're tan enough. And so when you're really young, when you're growing up as a teenager, and that's the constant message that you're getting exposed to, that becomes kind of your reality. You start linking your worth to how small your body can be. And the things that we learn at a very young age, it stays with you for a long time without you even being conscious of it. So when I retired from the sport at the age of 16, and I was no longer training 20, 25 hours a week, of course, my body started to change. And I didn't know how to navigate this new world where I had to be conscious of what I was eating, because when you're an athlete, you eat whatever you want and it doesn't really matter.
Right.
And I had to navigate this new world of not training these crazy hours. And my body did change. I did start gaining weight because I had never learned the right habits in order to live this kind of balanced and healthy lifestyle. So I did what everyone did, which I started doing the restrictive dieting and counting calories and doing keto and doing intermittent fasting, like trying everything that other people were doing, hoping to get my health in order.
You know, that does seem to be like one of the craziest things, and and maybe take away that judgment tag of crazy, but we would tend to like do the things that we think is going to work, but we end up harming ourselves more in the end because we guesstimating. We doing a lot of guesstimation, and then we're adopting a lot of things that mainstream media says, like, okay, well, you do it this way, or we getting input from friends and family, like, oh, you do it this way, or we just going with the motion, like, okay. uh, so what was some of the things you did or tried before you arrived at where you are now?
Yeah, and what you were saying is absolutely true. We think that there's this one size fits all thing that's going to work for everyone. And because your cousin was able to lose weight on keto, or your coworker was able to lose weight doing intermittent fasting, you think that it's going to work for you. And
Right.
the truth of the matter is that everyone's body is different. Everyone has a different history, has different genetics, and there is no one size fits all. And for me, I did everything that most people would do. So I started demonizing carbs. So I
Mhm.
wasn't eating pasta, I wasn't eating bread. I would eat really, really clean
Yeah.
Monday through Friday. And then on Friday night, it'd be like one innocent piece of pizza would lead to an entire pizza and a bag of
Mhm.
chips and the ice cream, because I had this mentality of, well, if I've already ruined my day, then I'm just going to eat all the foods for the weekend and start again and be good on Monday. I did the calorie counting. So I did extremely low calories,
Mhm.
1200, 1500 calories, where you're depriving yourself of enough fuel. You're
Right.
hungry all the time, and you think that you're doing it in the name of health, but really it's not self-care. You're just harming your body.
You got that right. Oh, we like that really hits me in a personal space because I remember when I was on the wrestling team, and you got to drop weight pretty fast, to make a certain weight class for those who are not too familiar with wrestling, and when it came to time to weigh in, or it was getting close to that day, for meet, like I was a young guy, and not that informed. So I go out and buy the hugest diet powder there is, chucking that stuff down, getting all type of those different lozenges that cause you to go to the restroom constant time. So like it was crazy,
Mhm.
But once I learned that I was harming myself, I felt even more bad. Did a lot of that guilt come up for you? And can you describe, like, how you maybe process that better?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, it's funny because I didn't really know how much I was harming my body until years later, until
Right.
I was out of it and I look back on my behaviors and I realize, like, oh my goodness, I really neglected myself. I neglected my mental health. I neglected my physical health. But in the moment, the guilt wasn't about my behaviors. The guilt came from thinking I wasn't doing enough, thinking
Mm.
I wasn't trying hard enough, because if when I was dieting, I would maybe be able to be good for a couple of weeks, and then of course I would break because I was relying on this willpower that can only last for so long. I would fall off the wagon, and then I would undo all of the efforts that I was trying so hard. And the guilt came from that, from thinking there was something wrong with me because I couldn't make it work and I couldn't be good enough and I couldn't stick to anything. That was the biggest part. And that's something I see the most in my clients, the people I work with, is thinking that there's something wrong with them when it really is just their approach was never meant to work in the first place.
Whew, man, you really bringing the heat there, and like if we can just hold it right there and like really hone in on just that particular subject right there, and it's not even to switch gears at all, but I think so many people, particularly in this Western culture, rather it be Canada, rather it be America, rather it be the UK, no matter what we're talking about, just Western culture, many, and I, those who are pressured easily by, impressible, by social media, when you get looking down the news feed and you seeing the body types and you say, wow, like you said, am I trying hard enough? Am I doing the right things?
Mm-hmm.
So like we really have to like, be careful now because we so fragile. It's what we exposing ourselves on a constant basis. Head to head is. Do you think this is like one of the hugest pressing issues? For a lot of people that the social media culture has really pushed them even harder to want to try to the point where they're neglecting mental health, they're neglecting body health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know that I used to follow these accounts on social media thinking that it would give me more motivation and it would encourage me. And the fact of the matter is that number one, you only see what they're putting out on social media.
Right.
You don't see what's going on behind the scenes. You don't see, they might be posting pictures at the gym every day or eating all this healthy food. They might be really, really unhappy and really unhealthy on the inside. I know that when I was dieting and when I was going through my extremes, I did go through phases where maybe my body looked really good. I was really skinny and maybe really muscular. I was also depressed, but no one would know that because no one puts that on social media. People only put the good stuff. And to compare your back door to someone else's front door, it's just harmful because then you think there's something wrong with you. Why can't I be as happy and as healthy and as, balanced as this other person when you don't really know what's going on for that person?
Whew. You really speaking the truth right now, and I think that is the smoke screen that needs to be just ripped down totally, so people can get that through, and I think your work really can help a lot of people, tear that smoke screen away from just what they're looking at, because there is struggles, for every individual, rather they're doing the right thing or not.
Mm-hmm. And this is something I actually do with my clients right from the beginning is I call it a social media detox. And I say, let's either block or remove or, mute any accounts that make you feel worse about yourself. And a lot of the times, these can be accounts that you think have been motivating you and encouraging you, but when you're looking at it and you tune in on your actual energy, when you look at these accounts, you realize that when you look at that picture, you feel guilt and you feel discouraged and defeated with your own progress. That account, it's not helpful for you. It's not helpful to be tearing yourself down every day. You need to look at real accounts that talk about real problems, that talk about real issues, and that encourage your goals. And if your goals are to be healthier in a way that makes sense, that is realistic, that is sustainable, then you need to look at accounts that align with that message, not some that make you feel like you're not doing enough.
Exactly. Now we are going to switch gears a little bit now. When we think about body positivity a lot of that has been at the forefront of the mainstream now, and a lot of people just don't know what to do with it. And there's been those who has pushed back against it. There's those who has taken it to a whole nother level within saying that, like, hey, I'm just going to be who I am, what I am, and uh, if I'm unhealthy, I'm unhealthy. So how do we strike a balance, where we can still feel good about ourselves, and but also not feel like we're being shamed for doing what in respects is going to keep us living.
Yeah, good question. So I always tell my clients and my community is, if right now you're in a place where you truly hate your body, where you truly have a lot of self-hatred about who you are, then going straight to body positivity, it's gonna be a lot of fake it till you make it. And a lot of the
Yeah.
times it just doesn't feel authentic, and you're just trying to put forward a face that's not true, and you can't fake that. And so I do believe that, yes, eventually you do want to get to a point where you are body positive, but the first step is to get to body neutrality,
Mhm.
where you're not necessarily loving your body, but you're also not hating it. You're just realizing that your body is this physical thing that has no actual meaning to it. I
Yeah.
always use this example of when you go to a dog park and you see a golden retriever and a pit bull and a chihuahua. You don't start judging their bodies and saying that dog is lazy because it looks that way, and that dog doesn't take care of itself because it looks that way. We don't associate meaning to different dogs' bodies because we understand that different dogs will have different bodies. They will
Yeah.
look differently. But we do this with humans. We expect everyone to look the exact same way because that's what is spread online. And when you can finally take a step back and realize that my body is just a body and it is the least interesting thing about me, then
Mhm.
you're able to actually tune in on things that are going to help you feel better. This is not always about looking better. If you truly want to improve your health, then it's not necessarily about getting your body to look smaller. It's about putting together a system and behaviors that are going to make you feel better on a daily basis.
Man, you got that right. Because what I notice is, like, what's more infectious is, not like you said, it's not necessarily the body, the outer layer of a person. Is when you can tell when a person really feels good about themselves, when a person is really feeling good, internally also, and that really caters to uh, a good mental health and a very good spiritual health as well. And that's something that we constantly talk about, on this particular podcast. Um, and so that transformation, I think that's a transformation that we need to focus on. And it seems like you're hitting at that, and that's what you work on uh, throughout your program.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And it's when you're finally able to realize that you don't have to hate your body enough,
Mhm.
that's going to motivate you to make a change, and that actually appreciating what it can do for you and just appreciating that it's there, you want to take care of it better. And just because you appreciate and respect your body, it doesn't mean that you're letting yourself go or that you're giving up. You're actually doing something that's more productive for your health because you actually want to take care of your body.
Yeah, absolutely. That is good motivation uh, when you got that mindset. Now, moving on to something else, and but not moving too far away. so we just driving the truck
Mhm.
to another destination. And Now, in terms of like just habits, so habits is another great thing, and we know with the practice of habits you can become successful and just optimize yourself in anything you're trying to master. Uh, with this part of your work, um, now, what tell us a little bit about that, and what is an example of a just a way that a bad habit has developed, and how can we unroot these bad habits and replace them with good
Yeah,
habits?
absolutely. So that's one thing that I think people don't focus on when they're trying to change their lifestyle and they're trying to improve their health. What they'll do is they'll just focus on the outcome. They'll focus on, I want to lose weight. I want to fit into this particular size. I want to run this distance. But when you just have an outcome and you don't look at, okay, what are the tiny behaviors that I can do every single day in order to get there, then you have this goal in mind. And then let's say you do lose that weight, but you haven't focused on like really set habits that you do so automatically every single day,
Mhm.
then you just fall right back into where you were at before because you never learned how to maintain that. You just
Right.
focused on this goal. And so people will always have this all or nothing mentality. If
Mhm.
I have to lose 20 pounds, I'm just going to go from eating like complete junk to eating super clean 7 days a week. And
Yeah.
that never lasts long
No.
term because
No.
your brain can only kind of white knuckle through that for so long. And what I like to do with my clients is I break it down into, okay, what habits can we implement daily and make them so solid and so automatic for you that you don't have to think about it anymore. It just becomes part of who you are. The same way that you wake up, you brush your teeth, you make a coffee. You don't have to force yourself or motivate yourself to do that. It's just something that you do every single day because your brain gets really good at what it does repeatedly. And the same way that a good habit like going for a walk in the morning or meditating or journaling or eating one serving of vegetables at lunch, something so simple, when you do it enough and you do it with the right process, it becomes part of your new identity. And once it becomes your new identity, it's really, really difficult to fall back into the person that you were before you started all the work.
I like that word, new identity. So yeah, I like how you use that. So yeah, because ultimately, when you add on something like that, that is a total transformation into something, into a new identity. I think what what became very prevalent, in a lot of people when we were sheltered in during the pandemic was we started developing these poor eating habits, where like we were just and because food was just right there, and we couldn't go out and get away from it, so we just oh, I might as well just go munch on something. so,
Mhm.
so,
Yeah.
so
And
that
you were
became integrated
you
in
were
every
asking
way.
before like what causes these bad habits to develop, and I can say without a doubt it's the lack of awareness of our own habits.
Right.
I do a lot of this work, the first week with my clients, I say, we're not going to change anything yet. What I
Mm.
want you to do is I want you to become aware of the habits that you do on a daily basis. Because so often we go through life, we're distracted, we're busy, we're always thinking of the next thing. We never take a step back, sit down, and reflect on why we do what we do, how often we do it. And so, of course, if you don't know what might be causing your problems or your struggles, then how can you possibly begin to change it?
That's when you gotta really sit down and take the moment to think too. I think one thing we do is like once we feel an emotion, we think we got to act on that emotion right away, and what that does, that can really quickly disrupt the peace if you continually to do, be so impulsive and so reactory, um, in how you're feeling, and if you add in, and if that action is okay, well, I'm going to grab a chip, or I'm going to grab, or I'm just going to lay down, and, when you should be getting up, and maybe taking a stroll around the house a little bit, something, whatever those small steps like you mentioned, could can go in place of feeling crummy. um you know uh, do you ever come across people, or maybe in your own life where uh they been so reactory, so impulsive that, like, you gotta break that, and just tell them, like, hey, slow down, just think. It's okay to think. Give yourself permission to think.
Do I ever come across these people? These are the only people I come across. Because especially when it comes to our eating habits,
Mhm.
this is something that I work on with my clients, and I offer like a 7-day free mindful eating challenge,
Right.
because being mindful and just something as simple as whenever you get an urge to eat something, asking yourself, taking a step back, taking 10 seconds and asking yourself, do I really want this? And am
Mhm.
I hungry? Like that simple question of am I hungry? We don't even ask ourselves that question anymore. We're just doing it because the cupcake
Ah,
is in front of us.
yeah.
And my clients can all say that just taking that pause and asking themselves that question, it is a game changer, and it is so simple, and everyone can do that.
Yeah, but who else doesn't allow you to ask that question is those doggone advertisers with with the slow music,
Mhm.
slow relaxing music, and the zoom in shots of the cupcakes and stuff. So
Mhm.
so these guys are notorious, and they do it in the movie theaters too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so how do we break those chains?
Well, here's the thing is we're always going to be exposed to like the media trying to get you to buy a certain product and to consume a certain thing. But when you know your own triggers, first of all, and when you're allowing yourself to eat the foods that you really want at any time, instead of feeling like you need to wait until that special occasion, you're not hyping those foods up in your head, right? So when you see the cupcake, you're not thinking, I need to have that cupcake right now because it's available. You
Yeah.
know that if you don't particularly want that cupcake in that moment, or you're not hungry, you can have it tomorrow or the day after without that guilt, without thinking that it has to be this special occasion. And then you're taking away that urgency of having the food right away, because you're allowing yourself that unconditional permission to eat it whenever you actually crave it and want it.
Hey, that's awesome. Well, that does put a little bit more lighter weight to carry, in your backpack. Literally, if you want to put something in your backpack, you can put something in your backpack and pack it lighter. Hey, Sabrina, this is incredible information. So, you know, as we approach, like, the 30-minute mark here, I I definitely, like, as an athlete yourself, former athlete, that uh, definitely got rolled into uh, this line of work, and you really put a big emphasis on self-care, and the importance of that. When we think about Simone Biles, and Naomi Osaka, and a lot of other athletes that's just now coming out and saying, hey, time for some self-care. What are your thoughts on that? And if you were to work with them, you know hypothetically, that would be the dream client, of course.
Yeah, seriously.
Anybody, how would you approach, the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's our mental health is number one. It's the thing that we carry everywhere. It's the thing that affects every single decision we make, whether it's with our relationships, whether it's the decisions we make for our own health, our careers, our family. And to put that on the back burner for a goal that's going to be temporary, even a goal as big as the Olympics, I think that you always have to come back to what is the most important and what is going to be with me forever. And I absolutely admire these athletes that are coming out and saying, yes, I may have been training my entire life for this, but especially, let's say in Simone Biles' case, it could be physically dangerous for me to compete where my mental health is not where it's at. It's being able to not feel selfish and not feel like you're letting people down. In the end, you are the most important person. And I tell this to my clients as well. If you're not taking care of yourself because you think that you always need to be taking care of other people, you're just trying to pour from an empty cup, and you're not serving anyone, right? Because if you're not taking care of yourself first, you're not able to take care of other people.
Hey, you got that right. And some people really just try to like antagonize you. They will put you on a grill and try to barbecue you because you said maybe once out of maybe 1,000 times finally they're like, hey, I'm just gonna do something for me. So the people pleasing is at an all-time high. And I think it's about time we do advocate for ourselves a little bit more. And there's nothing selfish about self-care. I'm glad you are an advocate for mental health, and that's heavily involved in your practice. So if there was anything that that we haven't talked about today, that you want to put out there, what would that be?
So if any of your listeners are people, especially women, who are right now struggling with their own health and they feel like there is something broken with them, like nothing will ever work for them, like they've tried everything out there, and they might be afraid of, what if I let go of dieting? What if I try something different and I actually remove the rules and remove the restrictions and actually start taking care of myself in a genuine way? If there's fear there, it's normal. Like most of my clients, they were terrified to let go of this societal norm and do something different. But the classic quote of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and hoping to get different results. And that's kind of what dieting is. So if you are someone who is wondering, how can I finally take care of my health in a way that is sustainable, that is healthy? I can tell you that it absolutely is possible, because I didn't think that I could do it. I thought I was broken, and all of my clients felt the same way. But truly, if you want to take care of your physical health and your mental health, and you want it to be long-term, your very first step is to get rid of diet culture and to take a different approach that is more compassionate, that is kinder, and that will be sustainable for the long term.
So much in that, so much wrapped in that. Especially when we're talking about women, not being a woman, and hearing so many different women perspective over the past couple of years, especially this year, especially it's been seeing it's always important, don't get me wrong, but I don't know, it's just something about this year that seems even more prevalent than most years, where there's it seems like there's so many gender wars on different social media platforms. It's crazy, things going crazy, and we know that the struggle, can be tough for most women when we talk about dieting, because like they these diet companies target women specifically. Um, we know, although the Instagram, the things that appear on Instagram, although it may seem like it's targeting men, but they're targeting women, because they selling women products, and so what do you see? You see the model, and then instantly what happens? You start going and looking in the mirror and say, well, I may not be able to fit those jeans like that, or I may not be able to fit that shirt like that.
Yeah.
So
And they
the
are
confidence that.
extremely good at marketing. I mean,
Right.
there's a reason why it's an $80 billion industry. They're experts at targeting vulnerable women and making them feel like there's something wrong with them, and like their product or their diet or their solution is going to be that thing that fixes them.
Yeah, so so this lack of confidence, this what is drop in confidence, in women, it seems like you know it's being displayed a little bit differently. Do you agree that it's like that there's a hidden uh, thing going on now where most women are not proud to say that, like, hey, I'm lacking in some confidence, or is the conversation still being had that, like, there's still a need to help boost the confidence of most women?
Yeah, I think that most women struggle with confidence issues. But on top of that, what I've noticed is that most women are afraid to be confident in the fear of looking like they have a big ego or like they're bragging. And this is something I see in my own clients. They're so afraid to start being confident because of what other people will say. And my constant reaction is to tell them, like, when you meet someone who's confident, who's happy in their skin, who is so sure of who they are, do you judge them or do you admire them? And
Mhm.
everyone says, oh my God, I admire them. I wish that I could be like them. And you can be like them. And you can be that confident person. Even right now, you don't need to achieve a certain body. You don't need to become a certain person in order to have that permission to be confident. Confidence comes from within. It doesn't come from other people's approval.
Yeah, and we mentioned it earlier too, is that and I think I said it, or rather than you, but uh, a person who is it's very well said setting themselves, and really starts having that better relationship with themselves, and feels very positive. It's very infectious, it's very infectious, and I think people gravitate towards that a lot more than people who's just out here just like carrying a facade, and you know uh, very highly prideful, and thinking they're all that in a bag of chips because, like, they got a banging body, you know.
Hmm.
So like I would rather rock with the person who's positive, and very secure in themselves, and and highly confident in just what they bring to the table, rather than someone who's just you know um bragging off, like, what they got on the outside.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So is this how we find peace too? I mean, I know the answer to that, but it's definitely always good to hear from from you, from someone like you. Is this ultimately the path to peace? And maybe is this the path we can get the peace for all of us in this world? If we can all just you know uh, exercise in this matter.
Absolutely. I think it's the path to peace. I think it's the path to truly being happy is to know who you are, to accept who you are, and to remember that you're not always going to please everyone.
Yeah.
But if you're so comfortable with the person that you are right now and that you don't need to change to please anyone. Those people who don't like you or who don't fit with you, they're just not meant to be in your life. And there's going to be people who truly love you for who you are. And when you're not trying to be someone else, when you're not trying to put up a wall and you don't feel like an imposter in your own body, you do find that peace and you can go through the day knowing exactly what path you're on and not feeling like you're living life for someone else.
Excellent. Well, I think we hit everything here. If not, you definitely are very much invited back, to conversate with us again, whenever we have something that we want to go over, we gonna look for you. You're definitely an expert in this particular field. Now, if do us a favor and tell everyone where we can, find you at and how we can get in touch with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyone who wants to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram at sabrina.magnan, which is MAGNAN.health. You can also find me on my website, which is sabrinamagnan.com. And you can find me on Facebook, same thing, sabrinamagnan.com. You can send me a message, and I'd be really happy to talk to you.
Outstanding. Well, it's definitely been a pleasure today to talk with you. And, again, you've definitely very much invited back to come to talk with the audience whenever, you got something new coming up, or if it's an event, or, if we got a tough topic that we can't handle on our own. And yeah, I'm going to be calling you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. This is something I could talk about for hours and hours. So I would be happy to be back.
Yeah. And so those who's been watching live, we appreciate you so much for joining in the conversation today. If you didn't leave a comment, you can always leave one, post this particular recording. If you're playing back the recording too, if you had that be in podcast format, however you listening, you can do the same thing with a review. You can send a direct message through email at media@transformu.us. That's media@transformu.us. Tell us what you think about this particular interview recording. We want your thoughts. We want your feedback. Otherwise, you heard the plugs. Those plugs will be also in the episode description of the recording. It is not in the live stream for those who are looking all over the place for it. We can only put so much in the live stream episode descriptions. It's pretty weird, but do what the words around me say, and that's, for one, share if you haven't already. That share button is very easy to find. It looks pretty distinguished. Take it right now, share it all over the place, share it with someone someone you don't know, and of course, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell so that you can get more and more of this great content. I'm your host, as always, Marcus Hart. We've been rocking today with Sabrina. This is the only place where you can make real life and business transformation. Shout out to our sponsor, North Bay Freight, for all that they do. Until next time, many blessings, peace, and lots of love. We are out. Or listen to the Transform You live show on any podcast app, on Roku,